And you take,
Hi, I'm Ed Tinker, and this is Ed, a friend of mine. And he collects some pistols that I actually only know the names. I've never owned one. So explain where they're from and who made them and all that.
well, I don't know how I came upon these initially. That's the Lignose company.
Yeah.
Um, they
Is that
made,
Belgium?
no, Germany,
Oh, they're
Germany.
Germany.
And I'll talk about the different types of pistol that they made. What interested me when I started, and the more I got into them, they began at serial number one. They ended at serial number 55,000. They
Yeah.
don't have 50,000 variations. There are not 20,000 different manufacturers all over the world. There are variations to collect that make it interesting,
Yeah.
but it ain't a Luger.
Yeah.
It ain't a Luger. No one is going to write a book about the variation and proof marks on a Lignose, but I mean, it isn't that. It's self-contained, which makes it
When
attractive.
were they made?
They started making them right after World War One,
Ah.
and they ended toward the end of the 20s, I think. They didn't,
Oh,
it was
okay.
not, it's a very finite period. Originally, the pistol was made by the Bergman Company,
Yeah.
and this is serial number 325, very, very early Bergman. The Lignose Company bought them in 1921, I believe. So Bergman only made these for like a year or two.
Oh, gosh.
And
Yeah.
then, and then the Lignose Company, um, this is one of the things that, I mean, we manufactured a while back launches, 37 millimeter launches. And when you engage in manufacturing, you have a different look. You look at these things differently because you don't waste anything. We use everything but the squeal, right? I mean,
Sure.
and when Lignos took over, I mean, they filtered in their own parts as they used up the Bergman parts. So
Absolutely.
having a for I happen to own the earliest Lignos pistol in the database that we maintain,
Yeah.
and I picked it up here in Sarasota. But all around it, in terms of serial number, you'll find slides labeled Bergman, or you'll find, well, even this is a Lignose pistol, serial number 5726. The grips are Bergman.
Oh, yeah.
They were still using up the Bergman grips.
Now, they
So,
made 50,000 total.
in total, yeah,
The reason I asked
55,000.
that is that Simpson, which made a Luger that I'm interested in, they have a low 25 caliber and they seem to jump. Like there's about maybe 12,000 and then all of a sudden they're up to 20 or 30,000. And
Hmm.
I believe that because some companies would just start at a new number, even though they look
Yeah.
about the same. What caliber is it? 25, I presume?
No, it's yeah, the 25 caliber. Um, the thing that is interesting about these guns is they bought, or Bergman bought access to a technology, Chernowski, I think his name was, which is an Einhand, one hand. If you press the front of the trigger guard,
Oh gosh,
you'll notice.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So if you have it in your pocket, it's not cocked. It's not cocked, and there's no round in the chamber. A bad guy shows up, you go,
That's cool.
and it's a techno I like it. I mean, even today,
Yeah,
it makes sense. And they came out, there were basically two forms of non-Einhand pistol. The number three,
yeah.
um, show it with it's got a big, a larger grip and a number two.
Oh,
And right. And then for each of those versions, there is an Einhand version.
a
You say
one-hand version? Oh,
Einhand, one hand.
of course,
So
yeah.
you just grab a hold and you just grab a hold and I'm sorry, I'm a little awkward. And you just go
Oh,
and you're
that's
ready.
cool.
Yes. And so that's that there are four basic forms of pistol. And then there are a couple of variations. The early pistol had a cocked a cocked indicator. See, there's a
Yeah,
little
yeah, I can
brass
see it.
dot here, low. And then there's later they went to a loaded chamber indicator, which is higher
Ah,
up.
what's the
So
difference?
it just well, in one case, if there's a bullet, if there's a cartridge in the chamber, you have a slight there's
Yes,
a
and then the other
hint.
one shows whether it's cocked, but not if there's a round
Yes,
in it. Ah, of
right,
course.
right. And so those are two variations. And there is another variation that I found accidentally. I bought a pistol. It was an early Bergman. And I don't know if you can see this, but in the back, there is they machined in a metal piece, and it aligns the slide and the frame when you're reassembling it.
Oh,
That's the only possible function that I can come up with, that it just helps in reassembly. Um, but that's pretty much the variations, with one more exception. The cocker, they call it the cocker, the Einhand piece, that can be either brass or steel.
oh, okay.
And
So it's supposed to be that color. I had wondered if it was made of something different.
yeah, yeah. And I maintain a database, which of course people are perfectly happy to welcome to access. And also I
Where's
wrote
that? Where's the database held?
I keep it in my back pocket, actually. We could put it on the Still website, I think.
Sure.
No problem at all. Um, the in I wrote an article paper on analyze. My background is more analysis and stuff like that. Analyzing the data, and that paper that is also on Buffalo's site at
Uh,
Buffalo, on the Unblinking Eye, which we can give a
so
reference to.
I've been there, but the Unblinking Eye is a site that's done by Ed Buffalo, and
Yep.
he has great information there, and it can be accessed by anybody on the web.
Yes. Yes. And we thought Ed and I got friendly ages
We're
ago.
all Eds, I've noticed.
Yeah, right, right. If we died, that would be the end of the hobby, right? I mean, that would be the but Ed made the point. He said, you write these articles, you spend all this time, I wouldn't call it blood, sweat, and tears, not quite that bad, but you put a lot of effort in, make it, make it available. Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree.
And the other wonderful thing about having it alive, basically, on his site is, if I come up with more information, I send it to Ed and he slams it on and it's updated.
Yeah, nice.
And
So how'd you get into Lignos? Those are an odd little pistol.
you know, I think what it was I had found one at a gun show and it just appealed to my curiosity. And I mean, for the longest time, Buffalo used to make jokes about this. I would insist I didn't collect Lugers until I had like 30 of them. And they said, Ed, you really do collect Lugers. You're gonna, it's like an alcoholic almost. You have to admit that you do it. But for a long time, I didn't. I had some, but it wasn't organized in any way, shape, or form. And down here in Florida, at a gun show, they have person-to-person sales, so I could easily buy something. And
Yeah,
also, the other wonderful thing back then was you could buy this for $300 or
yeah.
320.
Now, the two variations, although they look alike, it could really throw off most collectors, thinking that they're
Yes,
totally different guns.
it certainly could. And and as I said, there aren't that many variations, so you got to sort of keep your eyes open if you go to a gun show or you're looking on Gunbroker or whatever. Um, I just want to say one thing that they switched originally Bergman had used steel for the cocker.
Yeah,
After in the mid, I think the mid to late, assigning dates to this is a little tough. They switched to brass, and I did a little research on the price of brass relative to the price of steel, and it was a lot cheaper. So I think they opportunistically swapped. If
sure.
they could buy a metric ton of brass, the half
Well,
the
and
price.
all those cartridges, the
Yeah,
uh,
yep,
Canon cartridges and
yep.
stuff. I mean, I've seen huge
Didn't even think of
mountains of
that.
them in
Yes,
pictures, and they were melted down. I'm sure. I know they
yep.
were. Yeah,
And it makes. I didn't even think of the cartridges, right? Um, So that is another variation. Yeah, no, you could very easily overlook the cocker aspect of this.
yeah.
But I
I
think
like the
it's
brass one, but that's because the contrasting color is kind of cool.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And we should tell collectors do not polish them.
Oh, sure. Sure.
But
No, that's we were talking about that on our previous one about fakes and
yeah,
reproductions, and uh, it's just there's a fine line there. Um, I like some black powder revolvers, and
yeah,
you'll see people that'll come onto a forum and it'll be an old Pieta, the ones from Italy, and they're
no,
nice pistols, but they're not a Colt from
no,
18,
no,
68 or
yeah.
1875, etc.
And
So
one of the nice things about these pistols, and I think I had mentioned earlier about this like stock pistols, they're not being faked.
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
nobody's going around. There is no very Luftwaffe variation that somebody can buy a stamp from Poland and stamp it
right.
and increase the value by $1,000. They
Now
don't
these are
exist.
all marked what? Crown in?
Yes, they're all crown end. I should have
Have you ever
probably
heard of police markings or anything on them?
no,
Uh,
nope,
yeah,
not a one. Now, being a collector, you're a collector as I am. You go to a gun show and you see a police mark, and you say, "Oh, they may have been a few,
sure,
right?"
sure.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I have never come across them. The database, I think, has about 700
Oh,
examples.
you've come
No,
across 700
yeah,
over the
yeah,
years,
yeah,
numbers.
yeah.
Oh,
And I
that's
try,
good.
I go at it as I think of it and I go on Gunbrooks, oh, it's time for Ligna, and I'll do some research and I'll do a couple of searches, but it's not something that I'm, doing uh, as though I'm employed by the Lignose monitoring company, Um,
Well, I've got the Simpson listing, and I've got I think 800, and that's something I've collected over the last 20 years. It's just
yeah,
something for Lugers, the Simpson Luger. There's certain things that I look for, markings, a marking on the stock lug, and with Lignos, harder to be not faked is not the right word, but because there were so many other Lugers made. Now, are there other I'm sorry, are there other 25 ACP size that look a lot like them, or is this because they look kind of unique?
well, they do, but I'll tell you the little mouse guns. I mean, even a little 25 caliber Colt, you know, you could you could very easily mistake, you know, if you're not familiar with them and you're not really focusing. I mean, I had bought, I mean, maybe this would be a great, another topic we could talk about at some point. I was at the Lakeland show here in Florida, and I walked past a table, and I looked down, and there is a humpback Mauser sitting on the table for $350.
Yeah,
You know, and I mean, 500 people walk past it, but if you don't know about that 50 thousandths of an inch change in the profile, it's a commonplace 1914 Mauser, you
exactly.
know.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and yes, I bought it. And I called Buff, by the way, I went to the seating, and I called Buffalo up and gloried in my find. You know, it was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, no, I think the nice thing about these is there aren't that many variations. You know, I'm sure, you know, if we take it apart, we can find that the sear, there's a, you
Sure.
know, that there's some minor thing, but nothing that you would really, nothing that really is noticeable without a very close examination. And they're not faked. And you know, as I say, there's a beginning and an end,
Right.
which is
Right.
sort of you know, from a collector's standpoint, it's sort of nice. You can have a good, very good representative collection for not, you know, for the cost of a couple of Lugas, frankly.
Sure.
And
Sure.
and you know, and they shoot nicely. I mean, you know, there really is nothing not to like. Plus, they have that they have that,
Yeah, I really like that.
and I mean, I would almost carry this. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's the ultimate in safety. You know, you're
Yeah.
not fooling around with some sort of weird trigger safety like a Glock. You know, there's nothing in the chamber, and all you have to do is go like that. And now you got one in the chamber,
Well,
and it's
people will poo-poo a 22 or a 25. Tell you what, I
mm,
always say, why don't you walk about 20 feet over
yeah,
there and let me shoot at you?
yeah,
Of course, I'm
yeah,
kidding, but the point is that you don't want to get
yeah,
shot with a 25.
no. And these things, you know, I gave my daughter for Christmas, I gave her a little Smith and Wesson Airweight snub nose 38.
Yeah.
And I said, sweetheart, if you find yourself in the unfortunate position of having to protect yourself, this thing sounds like, you know, it is the loudest damn thing you've ever heard in your life, you know, and you know, and five shots from that would get one's attention.
Sure.
And same thing here. I mean, you got, I think it's six in one and eight in the other. I mean, that's a fair amount of firepower, particularly if you get a hollow point. You know, it's
So the variation, there's one that's a six and one that's an eight shot.
yeah, the
I
let
guess
me
I missed that.
oh, I didn't say it. Here's the two magazines.
Ah,
The
and will
number,
the long one fit in the other one?
no, no. I'm saying that like I know what I'm talking about. I never tried that. So I'm going to try it right now, live.
Because with the Glocks, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know,
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's you can get aftermarket magazines for them, you
oh,
know,
you
so
can
it's not, yeah. Um,
because the
some,
even the late 20s when you're talking about 18 years, 15 years before World War II started.
yep, yep.
And so it's an interesting time. Do you ever see them with Made in Germany, the little
Oh
stamping that
yeah.
would be?
Yeah, I've got one here that says that the very, oh heck. Yeah, no, I've seen them made in Germany. They were exported clearly.
Oh,
The
okay, sure.
The Lignose company, interestingly, lignite, it was they got into the explosives business,
Oh,
and they also were making film stock. So when they sold off, or when they got rid of the gun business, they made film stock for the German film industry.
I'll be darned. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do a search on eBay for Lignos, you'll often find advertisements for film, or for things related
Oh,
to
I'll
the
be
movie.
darned.
Um, yeah, and then, it's another one of those, 'cause it's a little bit like the France Stock Company. They got into the gun business. They made various firearms for a relatively brief period of time. Then they went off and made other things. And I mean, I'm still trying to figure out whatever happened to the stock company. I mean, my last foray into research on that showed that they were still in business, and after World War II, which is
Oh,
like, yeah,
yeah.
somebody was
Well,
selling them.
after
Yeah,
World War One, a lot of guns were destroyed, but there were tons brought back, and everybody was trying to make money. And so,
yeah,
again, when we were talking about Lugers, there was stuff that was refurbished by not DWM, and Erfurt was, of course, closed down. And I would assume that as the in 1929, that any gun business was because of the Depression,
yeah,
the Germans had been in a depression for years.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and their depression was, I think,
really
even worse
severe.
than ours. Yeah. And yeah, and the oh, I forgot what I was going to say, the about the German Depression, but I mean, I know what I was going to say, what, getting back to that Russian Luger with the reverse N,
Yeah,
who knows? I mean, that could have been, they could have been making those things on the sly at night and shipping them off to, I mean, it's
right,
possible. I
right.
mean, people were pretty desperate.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff was made in the early 20s. Well, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Well, can you send me some assorted pictures and then I will stick them into this discussion and I can show the
sure.
pistols and some of the markings and things like that. I think
And I will
that'll
get
be
the
nice.
links to I'll get a link to the article. And,
Great.
if you want to host it on the Still website, you can certainly do that too. It's
Yeah,
up to you.
I'll stick all both of our talks. I'll put the links in, and I'll play with this because I'm still learning how to edit. I would think it would come naturally since I was IT for so many years, but it seems like it's harder for me than it should be. But I'll
Yeah.
play with it and be able to stick some pictures in.
Okay, very good. I will get some to you. And, I enjoyed this very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. You take care now. Good to talk to you again.
Take care, Ed. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye.